Welcome to CM Farms. We've been in operation since 2020, and we have cattle, we also have forage, and we have a grain production. Just like many farmers, we're constantly looking for ways to be more sustainable so that we can be able to feed the world by the year 2050 and of course beyond. So let's get in. So the first part we're going to talk about on the farm is our garden. This is one of the areas that I'm the most passionate about. One of the reasons being is this is an area that we practice sustainability a lot. The first thing we do with sustainable agriculture is we use manure from our cattle and we spread that in our garden, both in our boxes and the garden beds. Reasoning for this is instead of buying chemical fertilizers or anything else to fix the nutrients in our soil, we can use more of a natural product. Speaking of our garden boxes, we also use a composting system. So the compost can use anything from wood chips to sawdust, straw, any sort of bedding for animals, along with even cardboard. We do use dirt in that, but we also use table scraps. So any sort of scraps, things that would typically just be thrown in the trash, we use to build those nutrients of the soil. So here we have garden boxes. We planted these in early November. We put some garlic in there, and we're going to use a sustainable ag practice called intercropping. So intercropping can also be known as companion planting when it's on a small scale. Intercropping is when you put two plants together in the same spot at the same time that are going to grow well together, hence the companion plant idea. Our two plants that we're going to plant together are going to be garlic and tomatoes. So garlic, as I said, we planted in early November because they have bulbs and you can plant them and they live throughout the winter. Once it is springtime and the last frost has gone through, then we'll plant tomatoes in there and they'll work together, and it also helps in keeping the weeds in control, so we take care of weed suppression along with building the nutrients in the soil because they work so well together. When it comes to the garden, one of the things we'll do is we are going to sell that local produce to all the markets. We'll sell it on our online Facebook pages, but also we'll take those and turning into preservatives, such as putting in cans and putting in freezer bags, so we can sell both the fresh products along with the canned and frozen products to the public. Down the road, we also plan to have little guided classes on how to do canning practices and other things that people can do in the garden so they can be more sustainable in their lives. So the next part of the operation that we're going to talk about is our cattle operation. Mainly we run a cow-calf operation, and they're either going to be raised in going to be stocker calves, or they're going to be raised and sold on online auction platforms. If they're going to be stockers, then eventually they'll be finished so that we can process them either for eating for our own family or that we can sell at the local markets. One of the things that we sustainably use cattle for is, besides using them ourselves, is we use the manure, as I said before, in our garden, but also we use it in our field to help out with, again, that natural fertilizer, so we're not buying as many chemical fertilizers. As I said before, we do use that meat ourselves and we sell it at the local markets, so that brings in more profit for the farm. So generally our calves are going to be weaned somewhere between that 6 and 8 month mark, and then once they become the finishing cattle, we're going to want them either at that 12 or 1,400 pound mark. They are going to be fed grass and grain, which is all from the farm, so again, we're not having anything else, and that's less cost for us in the input, and we get more in the end. We do also use, as a sustainable agriculture practice, rotational grazing. So we have 4 different pastures. Some of our pastures have multiple paddocks in them. We try to switch cows about every month. This way that they're not overtaking that ground, they're not compacting it too much, and the manure from the cattle can be spread about and continue fertilizing that ground so it is more luscious and much more nutrient dense whenever those cattle go out the next time. So the next area of our farm that we're going to talk about is the crops. There's 2 practices that we use in the crop portion, or the grain production portion of our farm. That is crop rotation and cover cropping. So cover cropping is the purpose of covering the bare soil in between row crops so that you are taking care of weed suppression. And it fixes the soil at the same time too with that cover crop. The specific cover crop that we use is on our wheat. We put a mixture of clover and alfalfa. As I said before, that helps with our weed suppression and weed control, but also that clover helps in fixing the nitrogen content in our soil. So again, when it comes down to your fertilizers and fixing the nutrients later, you already have some of that taken care of. The red clover that we use, along with the alfalfa, that whole entire mixture, works very well to feed to our cattle, but also to sell to the public for another profit to make the farm a profitable experience. In addition, the wheat that we grow is going to be sold whole, but also we can mill it down ourselves and turn it into flour, which can also be sold to the public, or we use ourselves to make breads that we can sell at the local markets. As I said before, the second form of sustainability we use in the crop production portion is going to be crop rotation, which means we have one crop in one season in the field, and in that same field in the next season we're going to have a different crop. This is going to be used in our corn and soybeans. So we switch every year between corn and soybeans. This way, this helps with the nutrient content that each of those different crops bring to the soil. Corn crop is also going to have a cover crop, as we talked about previously, of alfalfa and fescue. Again, something that we can use both on our farm for our animals, but also to help in selling for the farm to make a profit. Again, as I said before, with our cattle, we use manure from them and able to help fertilize these fields. The next part of our farm is going to be the cut flower portion. So you see behind me here, we have some honeybee hives. So from this, we're going to have these bees, and with the flowers around, that allows for them to be in a good environment and encourages them to pollinate the local crops we have. Additionally, that honey we can use to sell at local markets, again, to make a profit for our farm. And we are hoping to grow this industry down the line by growing more cut flowers and making more of a business out of that adventure. So some of our future plans for the farm are going to be eventually we want to get hogs to raise on the farm. The reason for getting hogs is both we can have our own meat ourselves for our own family, but also just like we butcher the cattle, we can also butcher the hogs to sell at local markets. Additionally, again, like we use the cattle, we can use the manure from hogs to help fertilize our gardens and our fields. Another addition we see to add to the farm in the future is chickens. These also will help with the manure management and helping with the garden and the fields. Particularly, these chickens will be in rolling cages out in the pastures, so that way they'll be protected from predators, but also so that they can help in moving around that cattle manure and digging through all those things. The final component of the farm that will be for the future is we hope, as we continue to grow, that we can have workshops out here about different things that we do, along with having guided lead tours. Thank you for joining us today on our virtual tour of CM Farms.